left out here going to South America somewhere. It was headed south. It's usually the route, isn't it? Somewhere overseas to here in South America.
One that comes from Anchorage, one that comes from Luxembourg.
Yeah, Luxembourg.
The ones that come from Anchorage come from China.
Yeah, China than Anchorage.
Just refueling.
Interesting.
Back row.
I'm working.
I know where y'all sit in the church.
You're right. Good Baptist.
Gotta get there early.
All right, it is 5 o'clock, so let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. And if you would take a look at the minutes. Adam, I do have one edit.
Yes, ma'am.
On page 2, the first bullet, towards the bottom, it should be 21 cents instead of 20 cents.
Okay.
Any other edits on the minute?
Move that be approved as presented.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding airport financials. Adam, are you ready to go?
I am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. In your packet, just saying this last board meeting, a little bit more information, just so that you can kind of see the, workings of the business. But the first thing in your packet is the profit and loss for May 2024. I'll just kind of go through some of the highlights here. Income, $244,159. Cost of goods sold, $121,803. Realized gross profit, $122,356. You see the expenditures for the month, going down to our net ordinary income. Our net ordinary income for the month of May 2024 was $53,617.18. We got, other income, our interest in the bank, $1,186, FA grant / ALDOT funds, $232,408. Total other income is $233,594. Outside of the interest, obviously the grant is nothing more than a pass through onto pay the invoice that's already been populated. Total other expenses, $14,610. This covers the loan payment. This covers the airport improvement program. This is essentially $13,000 airport payment, which is covered by appropriations. Our net income, $272,601.57.
The loan payment is just interest only, right?
Yes, sir. On the balance sheet, this is obviously we pull certain things from the balance sheet. Everything else is the gist of it's the same information. Accounts receivable. So this is at the beginning of June, essentially what's owed. So this is These people that are on the, hangar rent that's paying by check, that's obviously going to the 15th of each month. That's $30,134.90. Going down into, some of the fixed assets, you can see there, basically all the different assets that we have. This is pretty much, the same, obviously, each month. Total fixed assets, $12,017,990. You've got some prepaid chamber events, $1,953, there, bringing our total assets to $13,901,740. Going down to our liabilities, the big one to pull from this is our accounts payable. We're on net 30 terms as far as our fuel goes. And, so essentially, in the month of May, we have purchased and have not paid for $108,833.56 worth of fuel. This is basically avgas and jet fuel combined. As far as the last page, total liabilities and equities, that goes back to that $13,901,740. The last document that you have in your packet, sales by item for the month of May. So this is just a breakdown to show you each quantity of transaction that we have. Basically, I'll go into this very briefly. I mean, it's just everything to do from our avgas, Jet A sales, facility fees, all the way down to we're selling a keychain. And so you have that for your viewing as well. I'll stand for any questions on that. No questions? Seeking approval to approve the financials for the month of May.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I got a question. You got two twins in a hangar at $350, but then the total's only $350.
Discussion.
So there are two units at $350. Twin piston community hangar monthly, two quantity. Subtotal $350. Only $350 in the total. It should be $700 in the total. I went to public school, but
Yeah, that's because the rate for the community hangar is not $350. The subtotal will be subtotal tax then total. And so
it's
it's
$175
Yes, sir. It's 170
per unit.
per unit.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
And that was Hall for the second. Colonel Hall, is that you?
correct.
Sorry, I want to make sure I wrote it down correctly.
Moving on to number 2, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding airport projects.
Okay, I do have one other note that I forgot to mention on the last line, and I'll have to answer any questions on this, but as far as our audit, we have a completion date set for June 30th. So we'll have our audit completed June 30th. Sorry, I failed to mention that. Discussion item number 2, airport projects. I'll start with the Northwest Taxiway. We're working with the contractor to do some repairs. There were some panels that weren't poured to spec on the project. There was a few other things to do with the asphalt. Like there was one area, as an example, that wasn't flowing properly on the very end. There's some paint on the markings at the very end that's chipping. Just to kind of give you some examples. They're working with their team to give us basically a remedy for all the items and as well as a completion date. Once that's done, I would definitely foresee us moving right into the next phase of development for the Northwest, which would be long-term ground leases for some of the LOIs that we have. And then, of course, the FAA and state have not issued any sort of go letter, but on the approved ACIP for last year, we have phase 2, which is phase 1 of the apron going north as one of our projects to receive some funding. And so hopefully we'll get some good feedback on that as far as a possible FA, AIP, AIG project there. The LD projects associated with the liquidated damages for the initial phase of the Northwest Taxiway. You can see that they've started those small projects, which is the parking area. Over here, they've got the base down as well as the short little parking area on the southeast to relieve the hotspot we have with some of the helicopters operating. The southeast sewer, we've been working with Limestone Water and Sewer. They continually have, I guess, changes or comments that we're having to address. We think that we have fulfilled most of their concerns. We're going to be still wrapping up one or two last little items there, but hopefully in the next week, maybe 2 weeks, we can bid that project out. That obviously is a project to reiterate this, DECA 100% funds. And so hopefully we can get that project out to bid. Other projects that are out to bid, the Southeast Taxiway, the direct spending coming from DC, that is out. We do have a pre-bid meeting scheduled that will meet with the contractors that are holding the plans, and hopefully we'll get some good bids there and be bringing that back to you at next board meeting for consideration as far as the lowest bid there on that project. Northwest Development, another thing to talk about. I mentioned it last board meeting, but we've got some utilities. I'm still working with Limestone County Water and Sewer and Athens Utilities to come up with a plan of action as far as being able to supply the necessary power, the necessary water for multiple facilities to feed off of. That includes fire suppression, that includes three-phase power and other things. So more to come on that, but as of right now, I don't have any answers there. Last but not least, I want to mention under this line item, we have received another LOI, and we have been in contact as recently as today with a company asking questions about how to build large facilities on the southeast. So lots of interest there. I think a lot of people are starting to realize that Pryor Field is a great spot to kind of set up shop and grow that business here. So more to come on that, but that's all I have as far as airport projects. I'll stand for any questions.
When are they gonna start building in the southeast? We haven't heard anything about it.
As far as the AI, I
They're the
do,
only people I know
but we do have multiple other projects. Limestone County will build the access road.
of. Yeah, but there's no big hurry for that because they're not breaking anytime soon.
To my knowledge, we do not have a date. We do not have anything nailed down.
If they even surveyed it,
Oh, they've done everything.
they've
So
done
they've got
everything ready to build.
Yeah, they've got 95% plans. Yes. So they're ready. I don't know exactly what the holdup is outside of what I've been told. I think a couple of weeks ago was essentially we had a medical emergency with the CEO, and they were ramping up with some other executives to kind of take over and help him along the way as far as all of his projects that he has out there. Their time starts April of 2025 as far as their lease goes.
It's chump change.
$126,000 annually.
Yep, it's chump change for how much money we got being spent down there. I'm just saying. Anyway, what's next?
Any other questions on the projects?
I got one. What if AI does it? Where does that leave us with all this, with the grants and money that's being spent there? Are we liable for any of that back?
No, the direct spending is essentially the congressional delegation saying that I want to spend money there. There's nothing that we had to sign for any sort of guarantees. So we pitched the idea of opening our acreage up, 85 acres for large MROs to build. And whether if this company builds or if it's the next company that builds, the infrastructure still has to be in place. The only one that had to sign on the dotted line per se was the company that had to sign verifying that they would bring the jobs. And that was on them, not on us, as far as the ADECA and, which is a community development block grant, 1 million from the Appalachian Regional Commission. So they were part of that packet. And, so essentially they've signed on the dotted line for that. And we're administering the project to support it.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, moving on. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the 50/50 hangar grant.
As part of last year's annual request for projects from ALDOT, one of the projects that we put back into the pool was a potential hangar project. As I iterated back then, the hangar was the lowest priority. Obviously the Northwest was one of the top priorities that I've pushed and had meetings and begged, pleaded and everything else to get funding to support that growth. The hangar was one that we put out there in hopes that maybe we could secure additional, maybe appropriations or one-time spending or something of those of that nature. Unfortunately, we did not get any of those funds, and this is basically the same as last year where we received this 50/50. That's up to 500,000. So we would have to spend 500,000 to get the 500,000 from ALDOT, and it'd be a state and local project. Unfortunately, I have not come up with any other funds. I'm still working on that for a potential down the road for extra funds, whether if that's TVA, whether if that's EDA funds or local match, or the new option is I'm hunting down the path of trying to get some of our tax money back. So our ad valorem tax. So Pryorfield is #1 in the state of Alabama as far as our based aircraft. And obviously we have some aircraft that, are very valuable, and we've got some more that are coming that are extremely valuable. So ad valorem tax is obviously something that far exceeds our appropriations that we get. And I met with Colin Daly and our EDA team to discuss that. I don't have anything further as of right now, but we're trying to get some of those funds back. I believe this should be, based on my just rough calculation, north of $200,000 annually. So as far as the ad valorem tax go, I don't have any other thing, but I do hope that this is something that the Limestone County Commission will approve us for. It is something that benefits Limestone County Commission directly as those taxes go to the commission. And to me, it's an investment. You invest back in the ad valorem tax, and then essentially, you could get more hangars developed, which creates more ad valorem tax after a period of time. So that was kind of my sales pitch there. I think that would be a tremendous thing that would benefit everybody, benefit the companies in North Alabama, Limestone County as a whole, and of course the airport. My recommendation tonight would be to approve me to contact ALDOT and essentially give the funds back, give the go letter back, reject it essentially, and ask them to support the Northwest.
Well, if we didn't borrow the money for the Northwest project, we started 2 years earlier than we could have started. But we,
Any other discussion?
I'm in agreement. We can't afford it. It's a great deal. Spend 500, get 500. Can't do it right now.
Mhm.
But if we could get this ad valorem tax agreed upon, and then we know what that number is, I'd be okay to spend the money if we get that secured. That should be a 3-year, 2.5-year return.
So that's what I'm predicting.
We could handle that, in my opinion, very well.
But isn't there a drop dead date on when we have to exercise?
Maybe it's for next year if it's already.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna obviously bring back in the next couple of months, our airport capital improvement plan. So you all can approve to go after another 50/50 grant. You know, Frank is very transparent with us. You know, it's like, don't force this money. If you can't do it next year, apply again and we'll see if we can afford to do it with you. I'm sure they've got plenty of opportunities to spend the very limited funds Aldott has, you know, over the 78 airports in our airport system.
How much hangar can you build for $1 million?
I'm not sure, you know, but, the going rate is somewhere between $160 to $175 per square foot. That's nothing, you know, so that's a site that doesn't have a whole lot of dirt work and other things, but, you know, the hangar that I was obviously entertaining in discussion with EDA about was 8,000 square feet, which is the hangar, right over here north of the terminal building. Trying to do that, or the 8,800 square foot off of the taxiway. And so, you know, that was something that, you know, maybe 1.2 to 1.4 million for a facility like that.
So not 500,000, more than 500,000.
Yes.
Just want to make sure I understood.
Any other discussion? All right, do we have any motions?
Make a motion, we decline the 50/50 grant.
Do you have a second?
What's that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Moving on to discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding North Alabama Airfest.
Thank you. Our last discussion item, like I said last month, we've had a tremendous amount of people asking about the next air show, whether we're having one this year or next year. And so I have worked in that direction to allow you all to decide whether we're going to host another one or not. I do believe that, you know, the air show does have a lot of benefits to it. I can't actually say this without a shadow of a doubt, but I do think that it played a tremendous, I guess, action or tremendous amount of support for us to help get us the 3.2 million on the southeast. It's something that, you know, we were able to invite our congressional delegation field reps out here, as well as our local elected officials, and open them up to the world of aviation. It's just like anyone that gets introduced to the industry. It's one of those things that it kind of all starts at an airport. You know, that's, I think all of us could have that story. I know that's my story at 7 years old, is going to an airport. Well, an air show is obviously a great way of doing that. I do think that the first air show was very successful. I do believe that we learned a lot. One thing that I do want to mention before going into the board packet, you know, I've got a quote here from the CEO and president of Decatur Morgan County Tourism. The North Alabama Airfest at Pryor Field has a significant economic impact on our local communities, generating revenue through tourism, hospitality, local business engagements. This event attracts visitors from far and near, boasting sales for hotels, restaurants, retail establishments, while also promoting regional pride and visibility. I couldn't say anything better than that as far as what the air show means as a whole. It is very expensive though. So in the board packet, I have a budget to go through with you all as far as if you all wanted to host another air show. You know, this is something to look, you know, now that we've got the first one, as I mentioned way back when, we had to pay our way through the first one to basically be vetted. I think that this next one, you know, would be supported far greatly by the military versus the previous time that we've hosted it. The other thing is, I believe, and I already know this to be true, people are knocking on the door ready to sponsor. And so this would be something that we get more support because it's more widely known now. So going into the revenue sponsorships, I've got in the budget $86,500. Vendor fees, this is vendor setting up, this is food trucks, $8,750. Tickets, I have $145,000. Miscellaneous, I have $35,000. This would be for, last time we had in-kind donations from Pepsi that we sold product and made quite a bit. Matter of fact, I think the miscellaneous for, the previous year was around 37,000. And, so I've actually decreased that just a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. But the total revenues is 275,250. The expenses, I've used the last air show as a reference. Advertising, I've got 5,000. Insurance, I got 7,500. This is an increase in insurance expense. I don't have all the numbers yet, but one thing that I was looking at is rain insurance. And so basically, if it rains, the National Weather Service essentially is the one that records that. They use that as reference, but in the rain insurance for events, if it rains, you'll get the policy. So prime example, we pay, a couple $1,000s, $2,000, let's say from 9 to 10 on the Saturday of a air show. If it rains at all, we would get, the sum of the money. The event could still happen. There's nothing that's saying that can't take place. But essentially, that would be a way of kind of having some security there, to make us feel better about the event. Performers, I've got 82,000, which is a decrease. Performers local, 37,000, which is a decrease. Facilities, 40,000, which is a decrease. Labor, 5,600. Items for resale, which goes into the miscellaneous, by the way. I've got items for resale at 8,500. Miscellaneous expense, 9,500 for a total expense of 195,100. This leaves a profit loss. This would be a profit of $80,150. One thing I will mention is, if I figured it would pop up, is the tickets, 145,000. So I don't know what this looks like just yet, but I'm predicting to have a VIP section and general admission, and it could be a ticket per day, which is something that we didn't do last time. We did one ticket for the whole weekend, so we've lost a significant amount of revenue. Those numbers are at 5,000 per day, which is, you look at Limestone County Rodeo, they had 4,200 at the rodeo. Right now, David Schultz and I we just had a conversation about when could we do it? What would it look like as far as performers? He is pretty confident about going after someone like, maybe a big jet team or something that could very well bring about a large crowd. And that date would be somewhere in October 2025. As far as sponsorships go, to make up the 86,500, we've added a lot more sponsorships. Again, I don't have anything official just yet, but we've got presenting gold, silver, bronze, ticket sponsor to be able to have your logo on the tickets, performer sponsor, t-shirt sponsor, gate sponsor, banner sponsors, and then our fee for the food truck and exhibitor. They're all at various amounts that make up that 86,000. I do have somewhat of a prediction of each, but obviously as the sponsors roll in, I wouldn't cap that except for presenting, because obviously presenting is just one. And that's all I have as far as the budget. If you all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Adam, I'm a little bit surprised this air show comes up in board meeting. Only a year after the financial disaster we had last year. The air show was great. I enjoyed it personally. I think everybody that was at the air show enjoyed it. We lost a lot of money at the air show. And there was a lot of money spent that wasn't approved. So we got that can of worms opened up again. I was trying to forget about it and move on. The only way I'm gonna be any part of an air show, if it's prepaid. You got sponsors and you got money to totally prepaid. Because, we didn't have enough people last time. You got 145,000 down. And these numbers, you said you reduced it, but how much did you reduce it on before? Just reducing it, is it a $500 reduction or a $20,000 reduction? So a lot of information we don't know. I'd love to have another air show, but I don't want the airport to lose 100+ thousand. or 200,000.
Sure.
I have to echo a bit of what Roger's saying, and one of the sponsors is sitting in this room, volunteered to sponsor, and he's the only reason, he is the single reason I fought the resolution to even have the air show, because he was willing to sponsor, and you didn't even call him. And that really gives me a bit of a res.
I don't,
Because he was sitting here and I said, somebody wants to sponsor this? And Patrick Bramlett said, I'd love to. I would love to have the opportunity to do that. And I asked him if he called him and he said no. And there are other people in this room that have businesses, and there's lots of businesses that have airplanes at this airport, and I don't know any of them that call to sponsor it. And we budgeted $80,000. And $250,000 was spent. We had a like of Tom Cruise walking around at $10,000. That did not generate a dime. We had cars running down the runway that did not generate a dime. We charged $10 for the gate when the Limestone County Rodeo charged us $10 to go see a 2-hour rodeo. And they pay for 2 squad cars a year. It was beyond a disaster, I thought. And I liked the air show. I did an air show in Monroe, Louisiana about 3 weeks ago in Rogers T-28. They made $250,000. They had half the acts that we had. Their sponsor showed up on Saturday before the air show even started and were given rides and got tours of the airplane and stuff like that. Sponsors lining up. You know, I can't support this. I'm surprised we're even talking about it.
when we're in a better financial position, I'd be a little more open, but I would still want to have it fully funded before we signed up with performers.
Yeah, we have, what, $1.2 million that we're not paying any of the principal on. Nothing. We're paying the interest.
And I'll add one last comment. I'd love to have an air show because I enjoyed the heck out of it. But I don't want us losing a bunch of money again or risking losing a lot of money again. It's too hard to come by.
Well, we gave a party last time. What it was.
Are you ready? What were the audited financials from Warehouse for the air show? I'm sorry, I missed that meeting. I was out of town.
Yes, so that was given in August. Mr. Sheriff, you were the.
Yeah, I know I was there. $80,000 was budgeted and you took some money out of the budget from the community. And you know, it was never supposed to be a party. We don't give away gasoline. We don't give away electricity.
So
So, yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
excuse me, let him answer. What was the audited financials from Warehouse? The people who we have elected to do our financials, what were the audited financials for the air show?
Revenues was 117,990, expenses, 234,297. So to answer your question, Mr. Minor, I'll continue. That would be a difference of, I can't do the math in my head right this second, but 234 and 195. So that was the reduction over all the expenses. But yes, Mr. Sheriff, the community involvement in air show line item was 95,000. So this is $21,307 excess over budget that was presented.
So we had a $21,000 loss putting on an air show last time.
That's
That's not correct.
a way to look at it.
Gentlemen,
We
we
was
have audited
budgeted
financials.
$80,000 for the air show.
I'm sorry, we have audited financials from Warehouse. There was
budgeted
there was
$80,000.
so much unnecessary hate over this air show. When you give someone a budget, if you want to say, well, we only gave you a budget of $80,000. Well, we only give a budget of X amount for jet fuel. Should he stop buying jet fuel when he reaches the budget?
That's two totally different things.
It's totally different.
I
financial
totally
numbers
agree,
don't-
but then you guys can't
Doesn't
say
have-
there's $95,000 for an air show and then
We
just
didn't
stop.
say there was 95. We budgeted $80,000 at the meeting. I was the one that formed the resolution to have the air show. Only because we had a businessman in the room that was willing to
That's a,
sponsor it and
that's a-
said that he felt like a lot of businesses would want to do it. I said, okay, we can do it. We budgeted $80,000, not $95,000. And we damn sure didn't budget $250,000. And the reason I come up with $250,000 is because you and Adam, the day of the air show, told me that we had to have $25,000, 25,000 people to break even. And $25,000 to
I said
break,
there was-
25,000, let me finish, 25,000
you didn't let
people
me
to break
finish.
even at $10 is $250,000. So that's where the 250 comes from. Okay, so it's
So you pulled
234.
a number out of the air of.
No,
of a
you pulled
conversation.
it.
No, sir, I did
Yes,
not.
you
I
did.
said
You told
25
me.
I
out-
said 25,000
You told me
people
out
were
that door,
expected to
right
show up
there,
to
the
the.
day of the air show, that we needed 25,000. Adam was standing about 4 feet away from you, and you said, well, Decatur has something like 50,000 people that go to their balloon fest.
That's
You know,
not
of
what I
course,
said.
they've been having it for 50 years.
That's not what I said. I said 25,000 people were expected to show up at the balloon festival. I hope we get that many people here. But let's go back to the real thing.
We don't have the money to do it.
We don't have the money to do it. You guys are ready to spend $70,000 on a Calhoun hangar that's not going to return anything for 6 years. You sit here and
Except for
constantly,
maintenance fees.
excuse me, sir, I am talking.
Don't raise your voice to me.
You're talking over, you're
Don't
talking
raise
over
your
me.
voice to me. I'll stop talking if yeah, okay, I'll stop
You
talking.
guys
Don't
come
raise
to
your.
these meetings and you constantly say, we are in a bad financial position. Where Hal is telling you, we are not in a bad financial position. I'm not advocating for spending $275,000 to get nothing back on it, but you can't come in here and say, we lost $250,000. We threw a big party. We
I didn't
didn't
say
have a, yes, you did. Y'all just sit here. Everybody in here heard you just say we threw a big party.
I said we budgeted 80 and he spent almost 250. And he charged $10 a person and you guys thought you were gonna have 25,000 people to cover it.
I never said that.
You said it right after.
I never said that.
You and Adam said it.
I
I
never
mean,
said it.
and I remember that, I remember you saying it.
Do we have any further discussion?
There's not a resolution anyway, so there's nothing to discuss.
I got something, sir, yeah, about the hangar for Calhoun School. If we'd have followed what was the plan and hadn't have dropped it and went for months and months and months, we'd own this land right here beside the terminal building. I got out of it because I was asked to get out of it, stay out of it. But that hangar would still be sitting down there with those airplanes that are unairworthy, and there'd be nothing going on except we'd be getting $500 a month to rent out of it. I took it upon myself to work on it and work Calhoun, and at least got the process started. But now we've got a school down there, A&P school. And you talk about there's no value in that, there's a big value in that. And they're gonna build a hangar out here. That's the plan, is that not right? On this land here?
Everything's open discussion, but yeah, as far as a new hangar being
In
built,
2 years. we'll have
$70,000 investment in a hangar at a school on the airport is not throwing money away like we did last year. Now, I said I love the air show. I don't know where you come up with this hate stuff at. I don't hate anything up here.
Roger, you guys are constantly saying how we're in a bad financial
I
position.
didn't say we're in a bad position. I said we can't afford the $500.
You might not have said it tonight, but
500.
you've said it before.
Yeah, the airport has just now got to where it makes a little bit of money. I was up here for years. It lost money all the time. Without the appropriations, it would have quit operating.
Exactly. But we've been making money for 2 solid years we've been making. That's the whole reason why we're even in the position we're in now.
And we have
Look at
1.2 million.
The million is covered. I don't know why
In
that,
2 years it is.
it's covered.
In 2 years.
It's
In 2
covered.
years.
Adam, are we gonna lose that money? Are we gonna somehow show up and
In
have
2
to,
years.
to spend $1.2 million on a loan?
we have, basically the Build Back Better law that's signed by Biden. We've already received $316,000, the first iteration of that. We're expecting 2 more years of that. And then we have banked up AIP that can be used if you all decide to use that to pay off the loan, in its entirety.
I thought that's what the plan was, is to pay it off with the IP fund.
It is. I mean.
Yeah, but
You
if we,
said if we wanted to, that's the plan, right?
But just
2
like-
years of AIP, right? Right?
AI,
2 years.
AIG, yes.
It's
Bill
2
Bank.
years. Thank you. 2
okay,
years.
so then let me finish my conversation. So if we decide in the interim, we come into another windfall, we can pay it off early. And guess what we can do with those funds?
Have it in there, show if you want one.
No, we can build a $700,000 hangar because we get a 50-50 grant.
I'd rather do that than have an air show.
Well, where are we gonna build a hangar? On what infrastructure? On what taxiway?
Build it down there by the old hangar where Kenny Winters could have.
$400,000 in leveling that has to be done to make it
You're
happen.
gonna have to do that anyway. Up here, there's.
Well, we could have not torn down the building and put that money back into it, but we did that. And then we spent $26,000 in porta johns until we put a bathroom in. So we're all fussing about losing money on the air show, but we'll throw money away on shitters for 2 to 3 years. I can't follow the logic sometimes of what we fuss about and what we don't fuss about the finances of the air show and the finances of the airport. There's a very clear plan that both Adams have laid out for us and have been very clear on the entire time. But it's always like there's just something that doesn't.
I beg to differ with you. I've stayed out of the business. I've stayed out of this business with Kenny Winters. I didn't want the hangar there. And you shouted me down and said, why do I want to slow her on Kenny Winter? I don't want to slow.
Y'all were the one that was pushing
Kenny
it.
Winter.
We were just
I'm
fine
happy
to stop.
having him. I'm actually the reason he even talked to Adam about building a damn hangar.
We were just fine.
I wanted to have a hangar. I would have liked to have had down there instead of where it is. Because now we don't have a place for a DC-9 to park.
We will when the ramp gets built on the northwest side.
Well, that's a couple of years from now,
Still,
a couple of years from now. Just a couple of
We
years.
spent the money to tear down the old FBO. That went on for 2 years at least in these board meetings of trying to figure out things to do. Could it be saved? The building's falling down. Yeah, we spent money to tear it down. It's eyesore. And it is a good place for somebody to build if they want.
Point of order.
The lights had already fell out of the ceilings on it. It's rotting down.
Madam Chairperson, point of order. There is no resolution on the table. We're just arguing. And that's not Robert's rules. If there's a resolution, then we can
Do we
discuss
have
it.
any motions for the air show?
I find it funny that somebody wants to thump the Roberts Rules book when they were violating it earlier tonight. So
We were all,
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
When do you have to have something in order for us to move forward with the air show? I know there's a contract that has to be done with an air boss at some point. We have to find out when we have to have military or not. And we also have to find out when we actually have to have any of these funds attributed. So can you lay out that plan for us so we can possibly decide on what we're gonna do here?
It'll all kind of butt up with ICAS, which is the big air show at the end of the year. So basically, day one, if you all were to approve this budget for me to move forward, I would start signing the DD forms to get the military lined up, maybe the, different jet teams and everything. As far as the contract, with the air boss, I would assume that would probably come first. The money side of it would not hit until later. Just like last year, it was cycled over the length. It was basically 9, I think I did the air show in 8 or 9 months. Now we've got a year and several months to plan this out. But essentially, it would be phased over the next 6 to 7 months before we even really get into spending anything or signing on any contracts for performers or anything like that. That would be kind of the last side of it. The big push would be to push out a sponsorship, an announcement, and sign the DD form. So basically, to go back and summarize, DD form would be tomorrow. Contract would be next month or August as far as the air show, the air boss. And then as far as performers, that would be probably the end of this year or beginning of next year when they start getting their schedules stamped out. And at that point in time, I would hope that we have a lot of commitments as far as the sponsorships go. But hopefully that answers your question.
Well, I had a question before the outbreak. The date, has that been washed so that we don't run up against, any major, events, say within, I don't know, 200 miles or so?
Yeah, so we are, still in that process. I am, as far as I know, the third week of October seems to be pretty clean. But there's still some local things that I have to check into. So that's the reason why I said the month of October 2025, because there's some wiggle room there.
Well, you know, the Blue Angels being, hour to drive away didn't help us.
It did not.
So is September 1st our back out date?
I don't think that, I think it could be. I mean, it just depends.
So I'm trying to reach a compromise here. So if we can explore how far you can get with sponsorships and how far you can get with military acts before we're committed to do an air show. I need to know what that date is.
I would say more or less closer to the end of the year. I'd have to get back with David Schultz on that, all the answers 100%, but I would say sometime late fall. I mean, I hope to have all that kind of be in the middle of November timeframe. But no, I don't have an exact day in mind, but I do know that we'll have a pretty good outlook on sponsorships, hopefully by that point in time.
So if we gave you the okay to try to find military acts without encumbering us to any contracts until fall, let's say September or October of this year, we could do that without encumbering us with all these expenses for the air show.
Yeah, all these would be, most of these expenses are going to be beginning of next year.
So we could go all the way up to this, and then if you don't have a set amount of sponsorships or an anchor military act or whatever military act or whatever anchor act we need, we could back out with no consequences.
Again, I'd have to circle back on, the David Schultz side of things. But yeah, I mean, I would say that, yes, that would be a possibility.
The ICAS convention is in December, is it not? It's either in November or December. I can't remember. Those acts are gonna start signing their
Okay,
contracts and they're
so
gonna.
it's not gonna cost us anything. It's not gonna
Keep
hurt
me
us
out of
in
pocket.
any way if we let you go ahead and do some shopping. That's what I'm understanding.
Yes, theoretically.
Okay.
But there's a lot of work that has to be done. If you all want to do the air show, I'm proposing a profit of 80,150. I do believe that we'll have overwhelming support from sponsorships. To clarify a few things from earlier, I sent out mass emails. I have talked to numerous people. We put on the air show for north of 6,000 or so people, close to 7,000 people. I would say that, again, a lot of that kind of contributed to our success in the Southeast, I believe, as far as the DC direct spending. So I do see that there's a benefit to this. I will say that all the folks that are coming to me are not just pedestrians, but it's elected officials as well that are asking about the air show and when the next one is. And so tonight, I've come up with a very solid plan to propose to you all. The last one, we proposed a bottom line, just like our airport concessions, our terminal concessions. It is a revolving account where this is what the bottom line is going to look like for the period, because there's no way that I could predict what the the porta johns would cost in Alabama when I'd only lived here since February. So I proposed a bottom line, said you gotta pay our way, so I put in the budget amount, that it would cost us because I did not predict it to make money. I'm predicting it to make money this time, because we do have more awareness. As far as, contacting businesses, I contacted a tremendous amount of people. A lot of people said, we've already got our budgets in place. We can't do it this time, we'll do it next time. And so, not to get on anyone's personal side of things, but people were contacted. Outside of that, I do think, again, that this is kind of a all or nothing kind of thing. I think that there's a lot of work. It takes a kind of a whole village to do this. We did it with 6 people essentially and a few volunteers at the fair, which I'm very thankful for. But we put on one hell of an air show that I say is an actual air show that brought about awareness that probably led to a lot of things that we have today going on, because we were able to wine and dine some strategic partners, Calhoun being one of them, some elected officials being others. And that's how we get support. That's how we get funding for the other things, is getting them out here, getting them up close, getting them in the aircraft, and educating them as far as what aviation airspace is about and what Pryor Field does for Northern.
I'm concerned about half doing it as well, like, I think we either need to go all in or we don't need to do it, because I'm afraid that spending so much time and putting it out there, that's going to be difficult to take it back. Putting something out there and not being able to get potential sponsorships or sign anything, I think that would kind of hinder what we could do if we're going to do it. So I would say we either go all in or we don't do it at all. I'm afraid going in the middle and meeting halfway is just going to make things harder on Adam and decrease the potential success.
Still thinking you can get 30 to 60 days. And we would know how far down the road we are without you expending a lot of work.
I
You,
think,
you can push back if you want. You just need to let me know.
I do think that before, going all in, before we have to execute a contract with an air boss, which is the first step of solidifying, that there would be a overwhelming response as far as sponsorships. I think that, matter of fact, I've already got the first one, if you all approved, because someone that we do business with said, I want to be the first sponsor. And so,
We had that last year with Patrick. He sat right there.
Patrick is a great friend of the airport that has done tremendous things for this airport authority.
He was just saying he wanted to
I'm
be
not
a
trying to get
sponsor last
into the
year.
business of Mr. Patrick Bramlett. I appreciate Patrick and all that he has done for not only me personally, but for this airport authority. He more than sponsored the air show last year.
And I'll write another check for $5,000. I'll write a check this time.
Well, he said the same thing last year.
And I.
That's what I'm saying. He's
So let
the
me-
first
Let me
sponsor.
clarify our discussion about that. I got called 2 weeks before the air show. I would have liked to have had a further, amount of time to be a sponsor and social media and T-shirts and all that kind of stuff. There wasn't opportunity for that. So
Anyway,
that was my only, disappointment in the sponsorship aspect. But after this meeting, if there is a, air show, Go Fund, I will write a check for $5,000 tonight. I'll go to my truck and get my checkbook. And if we don't, fine, I'll say $5,000.
Well, it seems like right now,
there's no
where we
resolution.
are is you need an opportunity. It sounds like 90 days or so to go out and explore what can be done before we start committing funds. I mean, it sounds like to me this is a may I. And if it is a may I, then I'm all for it.
My request would simply be, if you all want to host another air show to bring awareness of what Pryor Field does as one of the leading general aviation airports in the state of Alabama, is to prove me to host the second North Alabama Air Fest with the budget that I presented. Now, yes, I will ask the questions. I apologize, I have not done it yet with the air boss as far as an out clause. as far as a time period and what that means. I do believe that there would be a period for that. You know, he tried to get me to, you know, if there's a slight chance of an air show, to go ahead and sign the DD forms 2 weeks ago, because he's pressed, because in the summer is when all these people plan out their air shows. And, you know, he's looking at, some pretty heavy hitters, and he wanted to get that in front of them as soon as possible. And of course, without permission, I can't do those things, but I did ask him, you know, I was like, what does this commit us to as far as DD forms? And he said, absolutely nothing. It just grants me the power to go and say, hey, there's going to be another show at this point in time. So I do think that the next 60 days, I'll have a very strong position or, some sort of response, from sponsorships. I do believe that there'll be an overwhelming response.
Well, then I think a motion would be in order then to give you the 90-day time period that you need, as long as there, no financial, commitments that but to seek out and come back to the board with a plan to either execute at that time or not execute. It's a rather lengthy motion, but
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Not opposed.
opposed.
2 opposed. Motion
Eventually
passed.
to December. That's usually when they start.
All right. Moving on to reports, the airport director's report. Adam?
Thank you. The airport is in a very good spot. We have done tremendous this year. We've exceeded everything that I have planned out thus far, knock on wood. We continue to do those things. Sorry about that. Jet A sales for the month of May, 2024, 31,977. Compare this to May 2023 at 15,788 gallons. Month prior was 39,092.5 gallons. Our annual total year to date is 204,749.23 gallons. Previous year to date is 156,236 gallons. This is 48,513.23 gallons more for the same time period last year. Avgas, month of May, 2024, 5,474.8 gallons. May 2023, 4,765.1 gallons. Month prior, 4689. Annual year to date, 33,875.21. Previous year to date is 38,862.27. This is only 4,987 behind the same time period from last year. We are getting into the flying months and the busier months for avgas sales as well. Continue on with some of the numbers. Month of May, our revenue is $189,199.44. Our cost of goods sold is $122,992.30. Airport service fees, because again, you know, it's not just a snapshot of the fuel, it's also a snapshot of the services that we're rendering, some of which have, you know, very little overhead, if any at all. Airport service fees for the month of May is $34,065. Again, FY 21, we only collected 25,000 in airport service fees. Our gross profit margin for the month of May, 34.99%. I'll stand for any questions on the number side of my report. If none, going into the Virtile report, 1,483 operations. Break down some of these that are noteworthy. Multi-engine turbine, 83. Business jet, 165. Going into business jet 2, 6 operations. This is going to be from the MD-80s that we have seen, or some of the larger CRJ 200 sometimes gets coded in that other. But we have a tremendous amount of aircraft in the month of May. Some of those that are noteworthy, your Embraer 550, your Embraer 450, Gulfstream 280. We had 8 operations. Gulfstream 550, we had 2. As far as Metroliners, which is one aircraft that is very important for Taxiway Design Group, as far as Airport Design Group, even though it's a turboprop, we had 24 of those operations just in the month of May. Also comparing that to the Embraer 120, we had 9 operations from those, which is essentially, 10 operations from those, which is essentially those that really help out with the jets that bring about extra funding and justification for projects. That's all I've got for the Vertile.
Are they contributing to our instrument approaches?
They are, yes. If FAA, sometimes they cancel, on final approach, but Vertile obviously catches that. And the justification for the Southeast, we actually used Vertile to help with that justification because the FAA came back and said, well, you can't build a 50-foot wide taxiway down there. It has to be a 35-foot. And so they're going basically to B2 instead of the C category, C3. And so essentially we've had to justify that, and Vertile was able to help me do that. So that is a very good investment for the airport. Going in public involvement, still working very heavily with the Aviation Council of Alabama. Working really hard to increase that state budget, which is only 8.2 million for the entire airport system. We've had a lot of movement there recently. Executive committee actually met this morning. After taking the board, we hopefully have some good news as far as having a presence down in Montgomery to help us with that. Decatur Public Schools interns in the second week, something I mentioned last board meeting. Dane is with us tonight. He's doing exceptional, and proud to have that partnership with the Foundation of Decatur Public Schools. Lakin has recently got on the ambassador. Is one of the ambassadors not only for Calhoun College to work with Calhoun on their internship program, but she's also on the tourism Decatur Ward County as well. So she's out working hand in hand with me in the community to share our message and bring awareness of what we do, market ourselves. I've attended the EDA annual meeting this past month, a meeting with a lot of different folks there to talk about the growth in Limestone County and all the achievements that we've had recently with developments. Most of this off airport, but obviously we have a very strong presence in all of that. Hence our Vertile report with a significant increase in jet traffic. During the month, we also executed a learning partnership with Athens State University. This is essentially allowing all of our tenants as well as our partners to take advantage of discounts at Athens State University. Regularly is 10%, up through the month of June, it is actually 20% for the fall term. So this is something that is really good for our airport partners. And the process that is essentially, you would contact me and I'd send a form to Athens State to solidify that discount from your tuition. Calhoun hangar walkthrough happened after last board meeting, and it was very successful. They were very happy. Matter of fact, they were blown away at the transformation that we accomplished with that hangar, and they were very satisfied. And they're looking forward to having that program here. Fly-in Saturday, we hosted a fly-in. We didn't have much flying activity as we had bad weather. We had those spring showers, but we had about I think it was 52 people here. We had about 52 people at the airport here spending money, buying swag, buying other things. We did sell some gas that day. We had a little break in the weather and had some flying tenant wise. So that was good. We had some folks in the room attend, so appreciate you all doing that. We did have some vendors. We had a popsicle stand where we support that small business as well as a food truck. And we also hosted the 99s here to bring awareness of the female aviators in the great state of Alabama. So as far as other opportunities for fly-in, I've been made aware that the second weekend of each month is the best as far as North Alabama and surrounding area to host something. So we'll make a decision later this week, to kind of advertise, come to Prior Field on a certain date, hopefully maybe the second weekend in July. But more to come on that. And mainly because of, you get Oshkosh and a few other things that may be best interest to push it to August. Maybe a best interest to not do it during the lunch hour, but do it first thing in the morning and have a food truck. Again, this is not costing us money to do these things. This is just saying the doors are open, come join us, come up from the south end a mile away, come to the building, shake hands with us, talk with us. Let's all share in the wondrous joy of aviation because we all love the same thing. So that's good. That's all I have as far as the director's report. I'll see if any questions.
I don't have a question, but I got, comments. Hangar leases. My understanding, and it's been this way since I've been on the board, there's a number of unairworthy aircraft here, right? Quite a number in hangars. Some of them for years since I've been on the board, same aircraft. Why do we not enforce our hangar leases? Just a question I want to pose, and I'd like to get an answer to it next time I'm here. We got over 100 people wanting a hangar. Why we got airplanes that haven't flown in years and years and are unairworthy? You know, it's fine if they're not flying, if they're airworthy, but we should enforce our leases. If people are begging for hangars, and we should let some of those people that want to fly have a hangar. That's the reason we got the leases, right? That's one of the terms. So
it is in our rules and regulations to have an airworthy airplane. Obviously, me coming in, not addressed anything to do with this. Some of the things that you all as board members have even indicated is that, certain people had airplanes and, kind of were mistreated and, there's still some people that were somewhat mistreated that still have unworthy airplanes. Who's to define the unworthy side of it? Obviously, the jet is an example that I know that's unairworthy. Okay, obviously it doesn't have the correct N number on it, which thus makes it unairworthy. But some of these others that just aren't flying, they are still airworthy if they have their annual. And so it's a means of how do we enforce it outside of just start dragging people out by the prop onto the ramp. And, we've got a lot of challenges. Obviously, one thing that I proposed, and it just brought to your attention is the cost to do everything here at the airport. But the flip side of that is, the underlying thing that I didn't talk about is you increase the cost of keeping something just in a storage building. Hopefully those things will get out, because the price of having something, even when you're not using it, doesn't justify it. But as far as that, I'm happy to go and be that guy. But that's a lot of people that, have been friends of the airport for a long time that doesn't get to fly, some of their aircraft. It's just a very precarious situation as far as unairworthy side of things. We could require everybody to submit their receipts for their annual and, me spend time vetting that as a first line of defense.
That's
I can-
pretty slow.
Exactly. I mean, it is. Or show me a fuel receipt that, the airplane's flying as well as the hangar
I
side.
know it's a very unpopular position, but it's a problem here. It's been a problem here many years.
How would you address it?
I don't have an answer for it. I'm not the airport manager or director. So I'm just bringing it up that it's a problem here and it needs to be addressed.
I have a question. If somebody has a lease, they're meeting the FAA requirements to have an aviation related objects in the hangar. You're being paid for the hangar, is that not correct?
Yeah, oh, yes.
You need billable hangars.
And I would like to add to that question. I would love to get some airplanes out of those hangars that are not flying. And I know two that I would especially love to get out, just for the principle. But if the FAA says they're airworthy because the airworthiness certificate is not expired, that has nothing to do with it.
Airworthiness certificates don't expire, Judith.
Well,
They
I'm
don't
saying,
expire.
I guess that's my question. What is the discerning?
They don't, we don't need to be in the business of policing whether or not somebody's airplane's airworthy or not. That's a slippery slope.
So if it's not flying, what?
But there's a difference. There's a certain derelict. I mean, we got an airplane down there that's been there longer than half the people in this room have been alive.
Yeah,
And it's a derelict. I'm talking about that jet down there.
Yeah.
That's got chewed up the
but
engine
there's also.
27 years ago.
Same difference.
But, you know, it burns me too. There's a car down there too that doesn't even have a tag on it, flat top.
Mm-hmm. I know that car.
You know, what do we do you gonna do that? I mean, I don't know.
All right, I'm on that subject. We should finish. Let's go.
I have to go. I have an obligation. I can't do-
I want to say one
There
thing.
had been a
And I'd
motion.
like to say something to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before the board members leave, I just want to say I'm appreciative of the convictions that each of you have and the willingness to serve on a board and to do the best thing that you think is appropriate for the airport. That is not lost on me or any of my colleagues, if I can speak for them. I'm very grateful for that. If the air show proceeds, that's great. If it does not, wonderful. I have a check right here for $5,000 to the Pryorfield Airport Authority. Should the airport not proceed with an air show, please take this money and put it toward one of two things and two things up. The first one being the previous losses for the previous air show. Put that towards that so we can quell that argument a little bit more. And secondly, take the money and put it towards local pilot initiatives here at this airport, whether that's sponsoring something or having a gathering or a party or whatever. It's at your discretion for the local pilots here at DC. So if we do an air show, put it towards that. If not, you have my wishes there. So, but again, thank you all for serving and voicing your opinions and convictions. I could serve on a board because I like to be the boss. So, you know, it's, I'm not the greatest person that would be doing. So, but thank you so much. And that's all.
Any other public comment?
Patrick, thank you.
No, Patrick just said it, so thank you, Patrick.
All right.
We adjourn?
If that is all public comment, then you have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're adjourned.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Pat.
I do.
Appreciate it. No, I appreciate it.
Well, you did.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
You know, I'm Dave.
The problem is both the same thoughts. It's
Sorry, you guys just like, stop playing.
have knocked down dragon fights and it's like, you're gonna want to. You know. And so now, so we funded, we get a real life. And
Thank
I should have done that last time.
Not.
And, I didn't. We're both at fault for not following up.
Well,
Right.
on something that was.
Especially. That's.
Think about that.
So see,
Thank you.
the people I'm talking about and that I have in my mind need to go. They get our payments.
We'll see you tomorrow.
They need to go. So there's nothing you can do.
It's me. I understand. Sir.